What is Bitcoin? That is the number one question that so many people are asking, especially like Bitcoin for beginners, right? So if you're a beginner in the crypto space and you have no idea what Bitcoin is and you just want to learn, in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what you need to know about crypto, Bitcoin, the history of Bitcoin, and how basically this technology, this software is changing the world, right? So my name is Cliff Pierre. I am the author of What is Bitcoin? Understanding Bitcoin and Blockchain Technology. I'm going to put a link to the book that I wrote in the description. And that book is basically just gives people an introductory level into crypto, specifically Bitcoin, because you can't get into crypto, in my opinion, without understanding Bitcoin and blockchain technology. And I'm going to break that down and I'm going to actually read an excerpt from my book, right? So when I go to Google and I type in what is Bitcoin, I have a background in marketing and search engine optimization, a bunch of other things as well. So I'm a marketer and I love crypto and tech. So I really understand this space. So this keyword, what is Bitcoin, gets about 280,000 searches per month, right? So there's about 280,000 people going to Google asking, what is Bitcoin? Let me answer that question, all right? So I'm going to go to an excerpt from my book, like I said, right? And this is kind of like the ebook version, whatever, right? But what I want to basically do is I'm going to like kind of just read this in like an introductory level. I wrote this book really for beginners just because like I know not too many people understand Bitcoin. So basically, Bitcoin is the new global currency, right? And by the looks of it, let me close this so you guys can see my face too. Can you see my face? You should be able to see my face. Close. All right. So basically, I'm just going to go off the top of my head. Bitcoin is basically a piece of code, right? This piece of code is a software, and this software is basically just, it's code, like really simple. It's not complicated. The same way like you use the internet, it's code. Bitcoin is a piece of code, but it's a digital code, right? And basically, Bitcoin is a decentralized peer-to-peer electronic payment system. What we mean by peer-to-peer, if you're familiar with like LimeWire or like Napster or any of those like platforms that came out that allowed people to download music from other people's computers, right? Peer-to-peer, meaning like I can share a song that I have on my computer with you. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer payment system. So I can send money to you without a middleman, all right? Same way I can download your song from your computer without a middleman, peer-to-peer, meaning direct connection to another connection, right? There's no middleman, peer-to-peer. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer payment system. So I can send you money without that person in the middle, which is a bank that's either approves or disapproves the transaction. I can just send you money just from one person to another person, right? That's it. It's a peer-to-peer payment system. So I can send you money without an intermediary party or a central bank, all right? So same way, like let's put it like this, a dollar. If I have a dollar and I want to pay you a dollar, all I need to do is hand you the dollar. Boom. When it comes to Bitcoin though, if I want to pay you a dollar in Bitcoin, all I need is your email address. So the same way I can send you an email, which is basically just internet code and language, that's all you need to send somebody Bitcoin. So give me your wallet address and I'm going to send you money with a peer-to-peer, with this peer-to-peer electronic system, right? So sending Bitcoin from one person to another person is as simple as sending an email. All you need is the other party. If all you need is the other party's wallet address, just like you would need someone's email address. If that sounds confusing, don't worry. I'm gonna break all that down for you, right? But before I actually like break down like Bitcoin again, so Bitcoin is just an electronic payment system. If I want to send you money, I can send you money without a bank. Boom, right? So now, if anybody asks you what is Bitcoin, it's a payment system that allows people to send money without a bank, without an intermediary party. There's no middleman. All right. So now I want you to understand the early history of Bitcoin because crypto and Bitcoin and cryptography has actually been around since the 1980s, 1970s. So Bitcoin itself is basically just a combination of other people building on top of this technology that allowed Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008 to release that white paper that basically was Bitcoin, right? And I'm going to create a video and I'll just read that white paper and I'm going to explain like what is Bitcoin from that white paper standpoint, and that'll probably add even more of an explanation, right? But there's a guy that so the history of Bitcoin dates back to the early 1980s before the internet birth. An established scholar by the name of David Sham, he studied how cryptography could send secure information over the internet, right? That's all cryptography is, sending information. How do I know if I send you this information that you got it? I need to basically encrypt it in a way where it's secure, right? So cryptography is the foundation of cryptocurrencies because it's basically me sending you money through a secure network that doesn't have a government controlling it. So how do I make sure that if I send you this message that you got it and that nobody else intercepted it, right? So in 1981, David Chaum published a paper called The Untraceable Electronic Mail, Return Address, and Digital Pseudonyms. It laid the groundwork for future projects related to Bitcoin, and in 1983, Chaum followed up with another academic paper, Blind Signatures for Untraceable Payments, right? So again, this is 1981. Satoshi Nakamoto didn't come up with the Bitcoin white paper until 2008. So this is where it all started. But nobody talks about this. That's why I wrote this book. So Chaum was on a mission to create a system that allowed individuals to send anonymous payments over the internet. And again, this is the 1980s. Internet really didn't become mainstream until probably like 95, 93. So he's working on this in the 80s, right? And Chaum's journey began when he founded a company called DigiCash. DigiCash, he's founded this in the 1980s, or 1990, I should say. And after starting DigiCash, he actually created the first electronic cash in 1993, right? And as the first electronic payment system, it allowed safe and anonymous payments over the internet, right? But the challenge that he actually had was solving the Byzantines problem. Byzantines problem is like, if I have if I have 3 generals on a field and we need to attack this one location at the same time, but in order for you to get your army there, in order for me to get my army there, it's going to take different times. So you need to move your army at a certain time. I need to move my army at a certain time. And this person needs to move their army at a certain time, right? How do you make sure that everybody gets the same message to move their army at a certain time? How do you know that that message wasn't intercepted? And then how do you know that it's secure? That's where the blockchain came in. And the blockchain, they didn't have that in the 1993 when he created this e-money. But I'm going to keep explaining. I just love this stuff, right? So David Chaum basically was like an innovator. He was kind of like the Satoshi Nakamoto before Satoshi Nakamoto, right? He built a noteworthy reputation as an innovator, and DigiCash was praised by Silicon Valley and tech entrepreneurs as a prominent startup. At one point, David Chaum was even in negotiations with Bill Gates of Microsoft to sell this eCash system that he built in 1993, right? So he was in negotiations with Microsoft. Gates proposed an offer of $100 million to purchase DigiCash. Gates planned on integrating DigiCash with Windows 95, but the deal fell through. And in early 1996, Visa was interested in investing in DigiCash and offered to invest $45 million. But Chaum requested almost double and lost the deal. So Chaum was just, I don't want to say he was not the best leader. He was a tech guy. Tech guys, you're going to deal with really smart, bright, intellectual people. But as far as like dealing with people, they can get in their own way sometimes, right? So Chaum was a brilliant leader and dedicated a significant amount of time and money to DigiCash, but he hindered the growth of the company. And in 1998, DigiCash filed for bankruptcy. So it's kind of like, again, he started this, he released his papers in the 80s, and in 1998, he went bankrupt because he just didn't know he mismanaged the system, right? But at the birth of, like, DigiCash and all of this stuff, it created a community. That community is what kind of compounded the effects of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all this stuff, right? And a group was created called the Cypherpunks. So Bitcoin, again, is built on a peer-to-peer electronic payment system, right? So the Cypherpunks and Bitcoin is basically an open source network. So I can see every single transaction that's going on right now on the Bitcoin blockchain. And I can see that because it's an open source network. Anybody can see it. Anybody can use Bitcoin's code to create another token, right? So like Bitcoin, it's really sophisticated, but it's really simple. Started in the 80s, leading up to the 90s, and then basically the Cypherpunks is a group of people that just love the technology. I'm not going to say they were anti-government, but they wanted to basically build this digital money that allowed people to do private transactions without the government interference and without government kind of just holding you back and telling you what you can and can't do, right? And basically, cryptography is a science. It aims to encode and decode data to maintain privacy. So you can see, like, Cypherpunks was formed in the 1990s. Phil Zimmermann, he created a pretty good privacy act, right? And what he basically did is, it was a 128-bit encryption tool. So Bitcoin has not been hacked. It has not been tampered with. It has not been interfered with at all. It's basically like this open source code where a bunch of computers around the world are working together to keep the system running. Again, that peer-to-peer electronic system. So just like LimeWire or Napster, everybody is just kind of working together in this open source network, in this open source community to build this technology, and no one person actually owns it, right? That's what's so interesting and so fascinating, right? I'm not going to read all of this, but what I basically just want to say is like before Satoshi Nakamoto released a white paper for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency or Bitcoin in general, he was watching what everyone else in the space was doing, right? So Chom's original vision of sending anonymous payments over the internet inspired cypherpunk's younger generation. Again, Chom was in the 1980s. So leading us to the point that the idea of sending digital money through a peer-to-peer network was pioneered much before Bitcoin's white paper in 2008. So the world just wasn't really ready for this digital technology. So when Satoshi released that white paper, it just kind of shocked the system. But before he released that white paper, there were people like David Chaum, there were people like Phil Zimmerman, there were people like Torvalds that created all this technology, like Git. Git is basically like another level of like open source coding where people can actually like use this technology together, right? But if you look at it, like PGP, Linux, GitHub, Richard Stallman published the GNU manifestation in 1985, and then you have Adam, what's his name? Let's see, BitGold, Nick Zabels. Nick Zabels actually created something called BitGold. BitGold, he created this in 1998 after DigiCash, because kind of David Chaum just, I'm not gonna say screwed everything, but David Chaum wasn't the best leader, whatever. But Nick Zabel basically created BitGold. But BitGold, Adam Beck introduced Hashcash in 1997 with proof of work, which is what Bitcoin is built off of. Bitcoin is like a proof of work system where the miners get paid based off of validating the transaction. So it's kind of like a proof of work. You need a code in order to validate the transaction, blah, 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 blah. So it's kind of like when you're mining gold, you need to do work to mine gold. You don't just, gold doesn't fall out the air. Bitcoin, you need to do work in order to mine Bitcoin. And how you do that work is by validating the transactions. I can go on and on and on, right? But this is just, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin for beginners. And again, if I'm going too fast, just get the book or read the book. You can read it at your own pace. And then you can also just rewatch this video, right? But I just love this stuff, right? So basically, Bitcoin and Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008 released that white paper. He was able to follow the steps and follow the, I'd say the foundation of what other people did before him, which allowed him to create Bitcoin. But again, Bitcoin is just a piece of code, peer-to-peer electronic payment system on an open source network, meaning anybody can see what's going on. It's not like a bank ledger where the bank controls all of your transactions, but you can't see them. You don't know if they're tampered with. You don't know if they're actually what they say they are. And if they do tamper with it, they're never going to tell you because it's a private entity. Bitcoin basically removes all that private and puts it on the open source network. So everybody can see what other people are doing, and everybody can see, like, if I have your wallet address, I can know how many Bitcoin you have in there. If I have your bank account, I can't tell how much money you have in there. So that's the difference between Bitcoin and this open source code versus like the traditional private central banks that they control the money and you never really know what's going on. Like if you look at inflation right now, Bitcoin is only 21 million Bitcoin that are ever going to be created. And that's basically a cap supply. The dollar and the money, they just print it however they feel like it. So that's the difference between Bitcoin and just this technology and why it's so important, why it's going to change the world. And if you look at like BitGold and Bitcoin, right? So chain proof of work, blockchain for proof of work, peer-to-peer network, peer-to-peer network. Solves a cryptographic puzzle to mine tokens, solves a cryptographic puzzle to mine tokens. Timestamp for new token, timestamp for new token. Operates without a trusted third party, operates without a trusted third party. So if you look at Bitcoin, it's actually really similar to a lot of the other projects that came before it. They just kind of tweaked it in a way where the chain proof of work was kind of what BitGo was doing. But again, that Byzantine problem of like validating the transaction and making sure, how do you create a trustless system between people that you can't trust? That's what the blockchain solved. That's what's so fascinating because it basically removed that individual that has to confirm a transaction and it gives it to the people based off of that peer-to-peer system, open source network that was built by other people, leading to all of this, right? So this is why it's so fascinating. So Bitcoin really is so striking similarities to BitGold, to a lot of the other projects that came before it. And it's basically something that took somebody 30 years to make. So I just wanted to explain the history of Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? And if you really want to go in depth, you got to like read this entire book. But basically, To understand Bitcoin today, Bitcoin beginners must acknowledge the contributions of David Chaum, the cypherpunks, Nick Szabo, Adam Beck, and every single person that created some sort of technology that laid the foundation for Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin protocol. I can go on and on. I'm going to create more videos, but this basically should give you like an in-depth understanding of what is Bitcoin, the history of Bitcoin, and if you really, really, really want to learn, I recommend you just get the book, read the book, and understand Bitcoin and crypto technology. I'm also going to be creating programs to teach people how to buy, sell, and trade Bitcoin. What is an NFT? What is the metaverse? The future of crypto, all of this stuff. And I have a huge network of other crypto experts that I'm going to bring on and all this stuff, right? So this is just the beginning. I hope this video added some tremendous value to all these people that want to learn Bitcoin. This technology is here to stay, and I'm an avid supporter of crypto. I'm an avid supporter of Bitcoin and blockchain technology specifically. Thank you all so much. I'll see you on the next video. And again, link in my bio and my comments if you want to get a copy of the book. And if you watch this video all the way through, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to cover, and I got you. Thank you so much. Peace out.